Do when you went to school? What?
Well, we played ball there. That was what we'd, and at recess we played guineas and guinea. Do you know what that is? And jacks. You know what jacks is, don't you?
Yes.
That's
Where was you went to school?
we went down here on the old schoolhouse at first. Nettie Erickson was my first teacher for the first grade. Then we moved the red building up on the, and it's torn down now. That was our next school. That's where the church is now.
Did you have hot lunch when you went to school?
No, they never knew what hot lunch was. We took our sandwiches and we come home at noon. We'd go clear from that script and hurry home, just get a bite or two, or a little dinner, and back we'd go, just get home long enough to eat a little and go back. We didn't think of taking hot lunch, didn't know enough, and we couldn't afford to have it if we'd had the hot lunch.
How long did they give you for lunch hour then?
An hour. We had an hour.
What did you do in the summer? Did you have to work, or did you just play all the time?
You know, we didn't work, never played. We had to thin beads and hoe. We used to, of course, I used to kneel down thin and they'd block them out. And now it's a different thing altogether.
Who blocked them out?
Mother and Dad. They left great big bunches, and we were supposed to have it down to one.
What did you do in the evenings in them days then? Was you tired enough you just went home, went to bed, or did you?
No, we played run, sheep, run. Hide and go seek and a few things like that. 1 or 2 nights a week.
Did you have a lot of people up in your neighborhood close to your age?
Oh, some. It seemed like there's always some around those days. Their families were bigger then than they are now. Of course, there's a few now that has big families, but not like we did.
How many was there in your family?
There was 10.
What?
We had 6 girls and 4 boys. We buried 2 boys. But the youngest was John, Learned John. He died when he was 9 months old. He had spinal meningitis.
Now all the rest grew up besides the one?
Yes. And they're all dead now. There's Daphne's the youngest, and Salome's next to her, and I'm next, and we 3 are left.
Now you wanted to tell us right off something about those after you got 16 and you was dancing. You want to tell a little about that now?
Well, we used to go to shows. Saturday night we'd go to a show, and then Friday or Tuesday night when we went to Mutual always, then we'd go to the skating rink on top of where he has his feed store now.
Whose feed store?
It isn't even a feed store now, I guess.
Parley Winds?
Yes, Parley Winds. There was steps outside to go upstairs. It was upstairs. And it cost us $0.25 to skate. They'd put our skates on. We'd skate up there. And, we thought that was just sports, Look forward to Tuesday night. I didn't always have $0.25, but Dad always had one. He paid for me.
Was he kind of a show-off then in them days?
Well, he always had money. He said he never remembers when he didn't have money. Never remembers when he didn't have money. Irvin Reed was the only one that ever competed with him. He didn't have to help pay for her. But he's a good manager, too.
What about this sleigh riding deal? He said you went.
Well, that was in the winter, you see. Maybe one would have a horse, another would have a horse, and some would say, well, they had a harness, and maybe the other would have the sleigh, and we'd go in sleigh riding. We'd put big quilts over and take hot rocks to keep us warm. That was their skating, or that was our sleigh ride.
You want to tell us anything about your courting days?
Well, just those courting days, and
well,
I told you.
How did Dad come up? Did he walk up and to see you? Or?
He did until we had a horse and buggy old dog. She could sit the fastest horse on them. And we'd race up and down Main Street, Saturday afternoons, because she could beat them all.
That was just Dad and the buggy. You didn't take the girls with you.
No, we just had a rubber-tired buggy, a one-seated one. Wasn't a surrey or two, it was a one-seated one.
And you wasn't with him?
Oh, my, yes. I was there with him. So, he always had a good buggy and a good horse. I mean, good transportation, ever since I can remember.